Good morning, guys. So now our topic for today is about the Java attributes and methods and how to encapsulate using setters and getters. And also we will discuss what is constructor or how to set up constructor methods. So last meeting we already discussed what is method, but we will try to demonstrate again as part of the because method and attributes are two members or the two important members of the Java class. Okay, so let's start to discuss. Where is it? Okay, so here we have a class named person or person main. So let's start with the attribute of the class. Okay, anything that you declare inside of the class is a class variable. Like example, if I will declare a string name, so that is an example of a class variable. Anything that you declare inside of the class. Okay, so that is class variable. So we already know how to declare a variable of a class or attribute. So let's try to assign a value. Okay, next is how can we access the attribute. Okay, so to access the attribute we can declare another class, but in this case I will just access it using the main method. Okay, so I will declare first an object. We already know how to instantiate a new class. Our class is person or person main. I will name it as P1. Okay, and then the next part is how can I call the attribute which is name. So we will use the object P1 and then that, and it will display all the methods or all the members of the class. So we will select name1 and then so we need to display the information of the name1. Okay, inside of this main method. Okay, like that. So run. Why so slow? See, it will display the information of the attribute name. But how about if the attribute name has no value? So like this. So first, before calling, we will assign value for the name. So P1 that name, we can assign a value, Sir Joecabz. Okay, semicolon before calling the attribute name, then run. So it will display again same value because we put the same value. Let's try to put different value so we can differentiate the output. See? So first you declare, you assign value, you call the name, and then you assign a value of the name attribute, and then you display the result. So that is how to use to declare the attribute of the class and then how to call the attribute of the class. And also to modify, like this one, we modify. We added a value. Okay? Next is, how about multiple variables? Like example, this is for first name, and this is for the last name, how can we do it? So same process. This is the f. So I will assign a value of the f in the first name. p1 dot l name, I will assign value caps, and then semicolon, and then I will call this one first name. I will add info like this plus p1 dot if name, and then I will add space, and then last name, so it will display one string line for the first name and last name. Okay, but you can also put it in a different way, like the first name is in the first line and the last name is on the other line, so like this. Okay, so that's how we can use the that is how can we call multiple attributes. Okay, next is let's go to method. But actually, if you follow the tutorial, we already discussed the method, right? But I will further discuss. So just pause this one, open the previous video to see what is method. Because in this discussion, I will discuss on the difference between the public method and static method. So there are multiple what do you call this one? Access modifier for a certain method or a certain attribute. We can use public, private, static, and so on. So for now, in this discussion, I will show you the difference between static and public method. Okay, so let's try. So I will create a method here, like static method. Okay, static method. So this is for the sake of example. I already discussed access modifier, the return type, the name of the method, the parameter, okay, in the previous lecture. Okay, and then I will create a public class, a public method. Okay, so inside of this class, what's the difference between static and public method? In the static method, you will no longer call that method using the name of the object, like person dot my static method. So it's no longer like that. So if you find a static method, you can easily access the name of the method, my static method, and run the program. So yeah, this is my static method. Okay, while on the other hand, the my public method, you need to call the public method using the object of the class. So p1 dot my public method and run the program. Okay, let me try if it is applicable. See, it will give you an error if you call the non-static method inside of the static main class, main method. So yeah, so you need to use the object of the class person name. Okay, so that is additional learning about the method class or method in the class. Next is, let's go to, should I discuss the constructor? Anyway, so let's discuss constructor. Okay, so this is for the constructor. Okay, so for the constructor, so what is constructor? Constructor is a special method. This is a method used to initialize object. The constructor is called when an object of the class is created. It can be used to set initial values for object attributes. Okay, so if you try to check, this is a method because you have this one. When you call the method, as you observe, you have these two parentheses, right? So this part is the constructor of the class, which is the person main. Okay, this is special because this constructor has no return type, and the name of this constructor is the name of the class. Whatever the name of the class, it should be the name of the constructor. Okay, so let's try to create the first constructor of this class, which is, by the way, I will create the default constructor. Default means it's automatic when you declare a class. It's automatically, the Java class will create automatically a default constructor. So you can instantiate like this. But how to create our own excuse me. How to create our own constructor? To create our own constructor, we need to write like public tab and then the name of the constructor, which is the name of the class, which is person main. Open and close, and then and then like that. So that's the constructor of the class. Okay. So when you instantiate a class, it will call the constructor this one. Okay. Next is whatever I put it here, like example, cout default constructor. When I run the program, it will display all the time this one, default constructor. Why? Because we instantiate it here. So instantiate one, so it will call whatever inside of this default constructor. Okay, I will comment it. And then next is, I can create a constructor that will accept any attribute of the class, like person, first name and last name. So I can create a constructor like public person main that will accept the full attributes of the class. So this is powerful actually. The constructor is very powerful because once you declare the class or a new object, you can automatically set the value of the attributes of that class, like this one. So let's try person main p2 is equal to new person, what happened? Person main, and I will select these two constructor, and I will write like uh, Juan, last name is De La Cruz. So as you try to figure out, P1 is already declared. This is P2. Okay, as you figure out, it's automatically give you I automatically assigned a value of the first name and last name. Now, if I want to display it, I can easily display like cout. That's correct. First name. First name. I will add the P2 that I will call F1, and then no space last name space P2 that name. So I did not assign a value for first name and last name anymore like this one, because I already assigned using the constructor of the class, and I will just call the name of the two attributes. Run the program. It will, oh, what happened? Really? It will give me null value? Anyway, give me a reason why it is null. I cannot figure out why it is null. Because this one is already P2, we already have a value for P2. Okay. Let's try to assign the value here. Like if name, we will use the this operator. This is representing this class that first name, if name is the if name of the person class, because we are using this. And then I will assign the value coming from this one. Or we will write first here to make sure it's not vague for you where the data came from. So the data came from the first, assign it to the F name. That's why that's the error of that one. Okay, and then we will call this one as last, the last name. Okay, run the program and see. Okay, so it will automatically assign the value of the if name and last name, because inside of the constructor we assign this one. Okay, so that's the power of the constructor. Next is, let's discuss the setter and getter. Okay, so every attributes of the class, we need to create a setter and getter. Setter is used, so this one. Setter is used to set the value, and getter is used to get or return the value of the attribute. So why we need to use setter and getter? Because of the concept of encapsulation. So encapsulation means we need to hide the information of the class. We will only allow them to be used using setter and getter. So this is like the Republic Act about data privacy, like that's the exact example. So you have the data, but you are not allowing them to know what are the information. Okay, so in object-oriented programming, we have this encapsulation, means we hide the sensitive data from the user. They can only access it using the methods, which is the setter and getter. So that is what we call encapsulation, means information hiding. So how to do it? Let's try to create another class. We will name it as, do I have person? Let's try to use the person class. I will remove all of the information here. Okay, so we have this string if name. So we need to hide these attributes to the outside of the class by providing private modifier. So it means private, it is only accessible inside of this class. Other than that, it will not accessible outside. So private string name. I will only illustrate two example. Yeah, the process is the same. Okay. Next is, we already have this one. We need to add the constructor. I will show you how to generate the constructor in a fastest way. So right click insert code, and then constructor. Okay, this is the default constructor. Right click insert code and constructor. I will set the two attributes. Okay, but actually we can generate the setter and getter, but for the sake of example, I will create manually the setter and getter. Okay, I will create first the setter and getter of this first name. So for the setter, public. So see, it's wrong. Setter for if name. So public setter. So setter has a void return type, and then the name of the setter, it should start with set, and then if name. This is an illustration that we set a value of the if name, and then it will accept string value because this attribute is a string. So string like first name. Okay, so inside of that method, it will call the instance variable, which is the first name, and then we will assign that variable a data coming from first name as the parameter of this method. Okay, first name. Okay, and then the next one is the getter method. Getter for if name. Public. Now for getter method, it will return a value. So whatever the data type of the certain variable should be the return type of the getter method. So this is a string, so our return type should be string. And then get if name. So it has no parameter because it will only return, not to accept. Okay, and next is to write the keyword return, and then the variable, which is the f name. Okay, so that's how to create setter and getter. So this one, it's no longer accessible outside, but these two can be used to access the method. Okay, we will try to create another class that will call of that information. New we will use this method, the person main. Okay, we will add it here. Let's declare person class, person p3 equals new person. Okay, we will use the default first, and then we will see out. No, we will assign value for p3. Okay, p3 that, as you observe, you cannot find the f name and l name here. Okay, why? Because l name and f name are private attributes, so we can access them using the setter and getter. So we will setting the value of the f name here, p3 that for the last name, Clara. Okay, and then we can display it. I will just copy this one. Should be p3. p3. See, it will give you an error because these two variable is a private, as you can see the error. So if name has private access, so you cannot access it. How to access? Using the access method, which is the getter method. So get f name, and this one is get so we don't have the last name first. No, we don't have the method for last name, so we will just display the first name. Okay, run. So we have this declare Clara. Oh, yeah, this is wrong. It should be L name. So Maria. Okay, Maria. I did not created the setter and getter of the L name attribute. So I will show you, this is how manually we can create the setter and getter, but in NetBeans we can generate it using by right clicking and insert code, and then go to setter and getter for L name. Check the L name and it will give you the setter and getter. No, but the first very important way is you should learn how to create manually. So now we can assign the p3 that L name, and then we'll put the value for our last name, and we will call it here the value of the last name using the method, which is a getter method. When we run it, so we have this data. Okay, next we will create another class. P4. Let's check first. Okay, we have this constructor. We will assign value for the constructor. P4 equals new person two. Okay. So two ways to assign value in the attributes of the class, using constructor or using setter method. Run the program. run the program, and it will give you the output. Okay, this one. So this is so powerful, and this one also is powerful. So in object-oriented programming, so this is now our blueprint. Same as the concept of creating a building, you need to have the plan or the blueprint of the building, and you can create multiple objects out of a certain blueprint. So same in Java class, in Java object oriented programming, we only have one class, but we can use it in a multiple objects. Like this one, we have the P1, we have this first object of the person, second object of the person, and so on and so forth. Okay? Like example, person, we have so many person. So like in the world, we have these billions of persons. So we can instantiate billions of person out of a person class. So that's all for our class today. And the next class is about inheritance, polymorphism, and so on. Hopefully you get a knowledge about this tutorial. Sorry, I have like a phlegm in my throat. I cannot easily explain it. That's all. Thank you.